Good morning, students. In today's class of managing change in organization, we'll continue with the topic that we have been discussing in the previous class. In the previous class, we were discussing about the key roles in organizational change. We have understood what is organizational change, and in order to bring about this organizational change, there are certain key roles that has to be performed by certain key people in the organization. Because change is a process, it is not an event. Just because the organization thinks to initiate a change process or decides to start an change process does not mean that the change process will happen immediately or start instantaneously. It will take its course. It will take all these steps required in the change process that has to be undergone. And there are the various, in order to continue with this change process, in order to initiate and implement this change process completely in the organization and to bring about the change that is anticipated or intended in the organization, there are certain key rules that has to be performed by key people in the organization, because change is not an individual process. It's a uh, cumulative process where all the people in the organization has to be a part of the change process. So in the previous class, we have studied about two key roles that are important in the organizational change. And the two key roles are the change agent and the support team. The change agent, we have studied that change agent may be internal change agent or the external change agent, and the various roles that a change agent has to undergo, perform, in order to see that the change initiative is successful in the organization. And then coming to the second key role, that is the support team. The support team assist in the implementation of the organizational change. They assist the change agent. And since we have already discussed that change cannot be implemented by one person alone, and it requires the cooperation of all the employees in the organization, the change agent has to take this assistance or help from the support team, who will guide him and who will provide all the assistance and expertise knowledge required in order to implement the said change in the organization. Apart from these two key roles, the change agent and the support team, there are another key roles that is required and to be fulfilled in order to see that the organizational change is implemented efficiently and effectively. So we'll continue with these key roles. The third key role in organizational change is the change management team. When we say change management team, the support team and the change management team has to work together, because the support team and the change needs to work together under the core change management. There is a core change management team, and under this there will be support team and the change agent will be working together, because it is the change management team altogether who will be responsible for initiation and implementation or execution of the change process in the organization. The change management group lies at the center of the change project. They are the cornerstone of the change project, and they remain at the center of the complete main change project. Their job consists of various activities. We'll understand one by one. First is to manage the project, people and resources. It is the role of the change management team to manage the complete change project, to manage all the people involved in the change project, and also to allocate the resources to various verticals to see that the change project is successful in the organization. So they allocate, administer, and adjust project resources, including financial capital, human capital, and time resources. So it is the work of this change management team to manage the complete project in and out. They have to also manage the various people involved in the change and also administer the resources, allocate the resources or adjust the resources as per the project. Every change process or change project is based on certain limitations, that is the amount of resources available or at the disposal of the company who is interested to initiate or start or implement the change uh, process in the organization. And these resources have to be properly allocated to see that the maximum benefit out of it is gained. And this allocation of the limited resources will be judiciously done by the change management team. So they have to allocate all resources. When we say all resources, we generally include 2 to 3 main things. First is the financial capital. What are the finances available with the company and how they will be allocated to various verticals of the organization, various areas of the organization where the change has to be initiated and implemented. The human capital means the human resources, the amount of project head managers required in order to streamline and see that the change process is properly executed and implemented in the organization, throughout the organization in various verticals. So the human capital, the skills and expertise of the human capital, that has to be properly allocated to all the verticals, to all the areas of the organization. And also the time resources, that means how much time is there within which or we plan to initiate this change and implement this change. Because time is a very crucial thing, because if the same change process takes a lot of time, then the essence of the change initiative will be lost. So a proper timeline has to be decided. Drop dead dates has to be decided, when and by what time, what phases of the change process will be undertaken and will be completed. Various goals will be set accordingly, and a proper action plan will be chalked out. So it is the role of the change management team to see, to completely manage this whole change project, to create this action plan, to see that the project people are properly, people and all the other resources like human capital, financial capital, time resources are properly allocated to the various verticals of the organization. So this is very important to understand. Now the second thing they have to do, this change management team, is to handle day-to-day operations of change management. Whenever we are trying to implement change in an organization, there are a lot of day-to-day operations, lot of day-to-day activities that needs to be addressed in order to see that the change is implemented smoothly and is accepted by all. From the, when we say day-to-day operation, it means from communication to advising. While we try to initiate a change process, we have to, there will be a normal resistance of the people, because natural resistance is something which is found in employees. Whenever a new thing is or a new process is started, it is a general tendency of the people to resist that change. So this resistance can be overcome by properly communicating with the people of the organization, employees of the organization, and making them understand the need of the change, why the change is required, why the organization is inclined or intended to bring about the change, what is the reason behind the change initiative. They have to understand this should be properly communicated, and they should also be advised the various roles and responsibilities they are going to undergo, they are going to perform under this shared change initiative. So the change management team has to handle all these operations, from communicating to advising. The change management team has to act as the hub of the change projects. Since this change will be initiated and implemented throughout the organization, there must be a central hub from which the complete change project can be modified, can be controlled, can be monitored. All these things can be done from by the change management team. So the change management team provides a bird's eye view of the complete change process. They help in the complete uh, daily operations of the change management process. So these are the main activities of the job of the change management team. Though change managers coordinate the efforts of the various of the previous two teams, they require guidance and support from ever. Even though this change management team is generally coordinated by various support team and also the change team, they require this authority and this sanction from the top management, because it gives them power to manage the whole change process and be at the center of the change project and see that each and every phase of the change process is properly implemented in the organization. So they should have that authority, and that has to be sanctioned by the top management, or that means that the support must be coming from the above, that is the top management. So this is required. So apart from this key role, another key role that is important while implementing the change in the organization is the business leadership. When we say business leadership, the first group that offers this guidance and support is business leadership. They are the people who are the main proponents of this change program. They offer the guidance and the required support, and this is done by the business leadership, the leader of the organization. Leaders must leverage their authority effectively to drive change. So they has to leverage their authority in the organization and try to drive the change. They are the engines that drive the change in the organization. It is from the people in the top management, the leadership, business leadership, that sees that the change is properly implemented. They are the fuel that drives the engine of change in the organization. So they must fuel they must encourage and motivate the people in the change initiative. They should make the change management team, change agent, they should try to explain them why the change is required, why they want that the change management team should perform in order to get the intended outcomes. So it is the leaders of the organization, the business leadership, that is required, that they will drive the change in the organization. Ultimately, the support of executive can mean the difference between success or failure. So it is the support of these business leaders that is highly required, because these people support will ensure that the change process is successfully implemented in the organization. But if we see that there is no such sanction, no such support, no such motivation and encouragement from the business leaders, and they don't drive the change, they don't propel the change in the process in the organization, then obviously other people in the organization, the change agent and the change managers involved in the complete change process, will lose their inertia, and they will be not interested to follow through with the change process. So ultimately, finally the support of these business leaders of the organization is highly required, because this ensures that the change will succeed and the implementation of the change process will be successful in the organization. So this is very important role. Executives and upper management help in few ways. So there are certain ways in which the executives and the top management or the upper management helps. What are the ways? First, they act as sponsors, because without a budget, change projects cannot succeed. So they sponsor the complete change project. They foot the bill for the complete change process, the complete initiation to implementation of the change process, and also the monitoring and evaluation of the change process. The whole change project is sponsored by this business leader. Without a budget, as we can read, without a budget, change projects cannot succeed. Executive sponsorship has been named as one of the most important contributors to success by some studies. So it is also been proven by certain studies that has been made on this organizational change, that they found that the executive sponsorship is very important, and these will contribute to the success of the change process in the organization. Second, they lead the change programs. There's somebody who has to show the leadership quality, and these business leaders, they lead the organizational change programs, and they provide that motivation and encouragement required by all the people involved in the change process, to keep them motivated and to see that they finally implement the change in the organization. So that is also very important. When executives or business leaders initiate a program, they should also champion and lead the change. Since majority of the change is initiated by the business leaders or the people who are the upper management or top management of the organization, they should also be champion and lead the change. This means offering visible vocal support and communicating directly with employees. That means they should be offering visible support. That means their support, their motivation, their leadership should be visible to all the employees. The employees should feel that the upper management is driving the change process, and they are not only interested in initiating the change process, also implementing the change process properly, and they are very much motivated in that. So that is very required, this visible support when it is required. When the vocal support is, all these things are provided to the employees are also feel motivated, and they understand that the change process that is being going to be initiated and implemented, the upper management is very serious about it, and they also feel motivated and encouraged when they see such visible vocal support from the upper management. Also, it is the duty of the business leaders of the organization or the upper management to communicate directly with the employees and tell them why the change is needed. Because once the people in the organization accept the change, they will accept the change on the basis of the information about the change process. And this information about the change process, why the change is required, how the change will affect the people in the organization or the employees in the organization, this will be communicated only by the business leaders and upper management of the company. So this business leaders, they lead the change programs. They offer a visible and vocal support to these employees, and also communicate to these employees regarding the need of the hour and why the organization is undergoing the said change that is done. So the business leader, they also lead the change programs. And finally, enable and facilitate project success. So it is the duty of the business leaders to enable or help and facilitate or make it easy for the project, the change project, to be successful. Executive support can come in various forms, from visible participation to financial support. And how they can enable these and facilitate this project success, the change project success, that is by two forms, either through visible participation and to financial support. Both the things has to be done. Visibly, the employees must see that the upper management is interested in the change program. They must see that the upper management is following through with the change process. They are very much serious about the change initiative that is started in the organization. And also the continuous financial support should also be provided to the change project if we want to see that the change project is properly implemented in the organization. Because without the financial support, the change project cannot succeed. So this financial support by the business leaders also ensures that the business leaders are very much concerned and interested to bring about the change in the organization. And when the employees feel that the business leaders are facilitating the change process, so they will also cooperate more and be a part in seeing that the change process is implemented successfully in the organization. This is another key role of the organizational change in organizational. Another key role that is very important in organizational change is the project managers. These people are will manage the various verticals and see that all the change process is properly implemented in various verticals. Project managers are critical players in any change initiative. They help change projects by they do certain activities. Their job that includes, we will discuss. So these are the main critical players, important players in any change initiative, because they are at the center, and they have to manage the employees and to see that the change is properly implemented in the organization. What they have to do, they generally help in the following way. First is actively supporting a project within their purview. So there must be many project manager in the change process, and their role is to see that they actively support a project within their purview. So all the activities that within their purview, so the responsibilities and roles that has been assigned to them, they have to follow it religiously and see that the change process is implemented properly in the organization. When we say they have to support the project within their purview, it means the ongoing day-to-day support helps to improve employee awareness and engagement. Because these are the people to whom the employees will directly contact, because upper management, even though upper management will communicate with the employees will be a little bit hesitant in asking directly questions to the upper management. So the project managers that is the reason project managers are there, to see that the employees are properly communicated, the various phases of the change process is properly communicated to the employees, and the day-to-day operation, the ongoing various phases in the change process is properly communicated to the employees. The proper awareness of the change program is there in, and proper engagement of this employees is done, and the people and seen that the people are properly understood, and when they understand why the change process is important, why there is a need for change in the organization, obviously they will be interested and they will be less resistance. This is the main reason why the project managers are important. They actively support the change program within their purview. Another thing that the change project managers do is coordinating with other change project teams. So they also coordinate with various other project teams who are involved in the change process to see that the change is properly and smoothly implemented throughout the organization. So what do they do? Ongoing communications ensures that the departments remains synchronized with the rest of the project. So the various verticals, the various departments, so the project managers of the various departments or verticals, they remain in continuous communication with one another to see that all the departments and verticals are in sync and all the project process is properly initiated in the various verticals without any problem. So this coordination with other change project teams is also done by the project managers. Another role that is done by the project managers is identifying and managing resistance. Employee resistance is a common roadblock during the change projects, and managers are in a position to spot and mitigate it. So the main role of the project managers to see that they will identify and manage this resistance. As we have already discussed, that resistance is the natural and every person will try to resist any change in the organization. So it is the duty of these project managers to inform and communicate with these employees and to see and make them understand why the change is required, because when the people understand the need for the change sorry, they will be much more cooperative and they will accept the change. So the employee registration, which is a common roadblock during the change project, these managers are in a position because they are directly in contact with these employees, and that is the reason they are in a particular right position spot to identify and also to mitigate the or manage the resistance in the organization. Okay, so and this is one of the key roles that is done by the project managers. So apart from this, they also do certain other activities like putting on different hats as needed to close the gap between their team and the management and the change project. They act in different roles as required: liaisons, coaches, change champions, and more. So they undergo a lot of roles. They simultaneously perform a lot of roles. They also undergo by various liaisons. They coach the people. They become the change management champions, and so they see that they do a lot of roles in order to see that the change project is properly initiated and implemented in the organization. Project managers are generally act as the bridge between their department and other groups within the change initiative. So they are the bridge between the department and the central change management team. It is their duty to see that what is under their purview, all the employees under the purview, they accept the change, that the resistance is minimum and the change process is properly initiated under them. Initiated and implemented under them. By acting as visible champions of change within their departments, they can propel change forward while reducing resistance. So this is very important to know and also understand, because they have to be very show their support in a very visible manner. They should be the champions of change within that department. So there will be very negligible resistance in the department, and the department as a whole or the vertical as a whole will accept the change. It will reduce the change, and this will ensure when the resistance is reduced and people accept the change, it ensures that the change process is properly implemented in the organization. Another and the last role of in key role in organizational change is the participants. It means the people from whom the change is being initiated and implemented. These are the participants who will be the mainly affected when the change program is done. So those who need to adopt new ways of working must be equipped to implement those changes. That means those people, the human resources who will be adopting the new ways of working, because when there is a change, there is a change in the structure, or there may be change in the system, the change in the way you work in the organization. So whenever there is a required to may adopt changes in the way of working, it is they must, these participants or the employees must be equipped to implement those changes. So proper skills should be judged, what skills are required to implement the change before implementing the change, and the employees should be trained in the additional skills that is required. Suppose if the organization wants to implement a certain technological change in the organization, then all the employees who will be undergoing this change process should be trained in the particular technology, what is the skills required for understanding and implementing, the way of working, how it will be changed, what are the skills required by the employees in particular various departments and verticals in order to accept that technological change. All these things, this has to be properly trained. The employees has to be properly trained. They also must be resilient and manage their own experience of navigating change. So they must be very resilient. They should be accepting the change, and they should also use their past experiences if they have, in order to see that they completely navigate through the change process, because the change process takes a certain some period of time. It does not happen instantaneously. So they must be resilient. They must be patient throughout the complete change process. They also need to know how to be an active participant in change. This is also very important because they have to understand their roles and responsibilities as employees in the organization, how they have to understand the need of the change, and how they will be assisting in the complete implementation of the change program. And they should be active participant in the change program. They should not resist the change. They should embrace the change, and they should be readily interested and accept the skills training required for adopting this change. They should be also be interested to adopt the various changes in their working ways. So this is very important, and this is the main role that has been done by the participants. They also, to affect change, people need to know their role in the process and be capable of filling it. So the roles that has been assigned to these employees, they should be capable of understanding this role. This is very important, because once they understand their roles, understand why the change is initiated in organization, how it will affect their way of working, and how it will improve their future in the business, business of the organization, and how it will also improve there, because the skills and training they receive due to this change process, and this change process is initiated because there is a change in the industry. So they are also equipping themselves for the industry growth, and with the industry growth, and they are equipping themselves for the future. And whenever if they want to join another job, they will be equipped with the necessary skill, and they can join the another job without any problem. So it is the duty of the change agent and the change management to see that the people know, the employees know their role, and also they are capable of fulfilling the roles that has been assigned to the participant. The participants are the main people, or the cornerstone on which the change process is developed. Because if the participants do not accept the change, if the participants do not are not interested in the change process, do not support the change process, then it will ultimately lead to the failure of the change process. So it is very important. So now we have understood the various key positions and roles in the organizational change. All the key roles are very important, because these are the people or group of people who will be responsible to see that the change is properly initiated, implemented, and executed in the organization. And these people are also responsible to see and follow up the change, to evaluate the change, and to continuously improve the change in the organization. So these are the various key roles that is being performed in the organizational change. In the next class, we'll be studying about the change process. You have to understand the change process is not a particular event or that can happen instantaneously. It takes certain period of time. So we have to divide the change process into various stages. When we say change management process or change process, is constitute a series of steps that needs to be undergone in order to see that the change is properly initiated, implemented in the organization. So it consists of 9 steps. We'll be discussing the change process in detail in the next class. So in today's class, we have discussed the remaining key roles in the organizational change. Please go through my video. Please go through the notes that I will be sending you digitally. If you have any doubt, no need to panic. Contact me and see that if you go through all the material that has been given to you. And finally, thank you for your attention.